All right, ladies and gentlemen, part 2 with Jessie Khaira. If you haven't already, make sure that you follow her on Instagram at Jessie Khaira and check out her website at jessiekhaira.com. She's got some really exciting things coming to you soon. You are not gonna wanna miss that. And you're also not gonna wanna miss the Supplement House's buy one, get one 30% off on their online store at www.supplementhouse.ca. Check them out, enjoy this episode. And finally, do not forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and like this video. We just hit 20 episodes, and we're gonna continue dropping one every single week for the rest of the year. Enjoy, and have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, and as young adults, you have to realize that too. If you want expectations to be that big and you want to spend that much money, either earn that yourself or take your own line of credit out. Don't put your parents who have already forked away 20, 30 years of their life to raise you, spent $300,000 to get you to that point, and now you're gonna ask for another $200K of their line of credit or whatever they're doing, refinancing their house. It's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, when it comes to parents also feel like they need to do that because of the trend that just started over this social media craze of like, I need to be better than the next person. What are my rishtadas gonna think, my relatives, this or that, and it's a never-ending game.
Some parents are just as guilty as well, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also the parents that have no idea, okay? Before, parents would go book vendors. Now the kids are going to book the vendors, and they're going home and telling their parents, these are the only options. This is the cheapest option. This is the best option, right? And so I live in a Delulu world too. I do live in a very Delulu world of what things cost. Yeah,
I've heard that a lot. What's Delulu?
Delusional.
Is that a new thing? Am I just getting old?
It's girls. It's TikTok. I have a teenager.
I never even caught that with Delude yet.
You put a collar on and all of a sudden.
I was like, what's a Delulu? I was like,
But I also have a 10-year-old, so I say things like Riz and Skibbity, because, you know.
Skibbity.
I've never heard of that one.
Riz.
I've heard Riz. I've heard Riz.
I don't know, they use Skibbity, okay? I had my kid's birthday party and I said Skibbity, and all the little 10-year-old boys and girls were like in riots that I used the word Skibbity. Like, it's like, I don't know, I think it means like cool, like it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I got called Chugi by some young kid once. I was like,
Chugi?
Yeah, I was like, what the hell does that even mean? So I went and asked Buddy and Avnu, my younger cousins. They're like, that's like someone who's a millennial and like they're like, you know, older. I was like, he couldn't just say I'm old? I'm like, now I have to go search up what Chugi means. I don't even know how to spell that. Like,
but yeah, those. As I was saying, I honestly thought that video for just video minimum was $6,500, because that's all I've experienced, right? And then I found out there was like companies doing photo and video for $6,500 for 3 events, and I was like, holy shit, like this is jackpot. But the work is not the same, but the options are there. So if your parents are gonna have this line of credit that they're taking money off of, like, sacrifice somewhere, right? Like, I've been married 20 some odd years. We probably looked at my wedding album once, if that. I don't think we've ever watched the videos. I did tell my kids I would convert it so they can watch it one time.
oh, they're still on VHS.
They're on VHS, okay? And DVD. I do have DVDs because, like, it was coming in then. It was like new.
So you're not that old.
I'm old.
I think Jazz was asked. I think it was you or your brother. You're like, oh, like Jesse's probably like late 30s. I was like, dude, Jesse has 2 kids, and he's like,
I didn't even know you had 2 kids until like a month ago.
Yeah, I was like, dude, her
I'm
daughter's
44.
like,
I turned 44 next month.
yeah,
Should. Solid.
I'm old.
yeah.
I act way too young for
Don't
me.
age yourself. Jazz thought you were in your late 30s.
Yeah.
I get that a lot, so thank you.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I remember the first time I met Parmesh, I told him I was like 40 something. He was like, no. I was like, yeah. I had 2 kids. I got my teenage daughter. Okay, I took her for a walk, man. Fuck. Can't even take my kid out. I took her for a walk at the pier. It was like 10 p.m. I had to like keep like moving her, right? And these guys are just staring at her. I'm like, she's 14. like, do not look at my child. But it's just like, I can't. Sorry.
Back on track. So on the business side of things, seeing that affects how you deal with it. So your business ethics do tie into that, how do you navigate such a, there's no hard line on what's ethical and what's not. You have to make that judgment on your own. Has that affected your business quite a bit?
Yeah. Because I need to be true to myself. So when I was doing decor, I had told myself the day it becomes strictly about money, I will stop doing decor. And that's exactly what I did. Because as soon as you're doing something for just strictly money, how you show up is different. What you produce is different because you're solely doing it for that paycheck. And I noticed that in 2019, I noticed, like, I think it was in June, I'd done these events and it was like good money. And I remember afterwards going, that was not my best work. I didn't care. I had like waited till last minute to do things. And that's not who I am. Like, I'm like, yeah, last minute, I'm like, hey, let's add this or do this because because I've got a budget and I know I've got this much left over now and I can't afford to like spruce this up or change this or like things change. But to like leave a lot of stuff for last minute, that wasn't who I am. And I realized I had become the person I did not want to become, who was now doing this for the money and was doing it for the deposits into her bank account. So I made a really tough decision and I was like, okay, I need to stop doing this because there's no way I could go back to the person I was before. So I called in, it was in November of 2019, I called in a dump truck company. I also had like a complete like meltdown and I was like, I'm just done. And threw everything in the garbage.
All your decor.
Everything.
Holy crap.
Evolution of your business, though, at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
You plateaued and you realize that
Yeah.
you have to find the passion in it again.
Yeah.
You can't just be in it for the money because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, money gets boring when that's all you think about.
Yes.
You get invested into it to such a degree where nothing else is like your foresight into what you want out of life is completely different. So to have the self-awareness to do that, especially in the business world, is huge. So for you to do that and realize, you know what, I got to find my passion again.
I do regret it a little bit. I do. I do miss that like flow of money. I remember when the pandemic started, I was like, fucking idiot. You fucking idiot. Because
that was what, 6 months after that?
Yeah, it was easy fucking money. Everyone jacked their rates up by 3 times, okay, to do 1/3 of the work. And I was like, you fucking idiot. You're an idiot. Like, what were you thinking? But I'm so glad I did, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have taken the time to like take care of myself and take care of my mental health. And if I had kept going the way I was going, I don't know if I'd be here today, because I was done. Like, I was mentally just exhausted. Like, it was like, I've openly talked about it. Like, I got to the point, it was in not the summer of 2019, the summer of 2020, where my doctor for 6 months had a nurse coming to my house, check on me once a week. And the nurse would sit my kids down in front of me and be like, did your mom get out of bed this week? Did your mom remember to eat this week? Did your mom shower this week? Okay, that's the point I had gotten to, where I was just done. And mental health and depression are things that we, in this community, we do not talk about. And I feel that as business owners, we do, in one way or another, depending on how you deal with situations, can really be prone to depression, because we see such highs, but then we see such lows, right? The bigger the risk, the bigger the chances of a fall. And like, money is not guaranteed. Right? You go work for someone, you get a paycheck. You know, on that Friday, I remember I used to work at UPS, we got paid on Fridays, man. Friday, 8 a.m. when I woke up, I knew that deposit was gonna be in there. And it's not like that when you're working. The number of times I have had bounce checks for like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, right? And I've already either paid out or I need to pay out. And I'm like trying to scramble and figure this out at this point. That shit gets to you, right? Like, it really gets to you. So if you are not mentally stable and able to handle it, don't do it. I remember one of my biggest lows, and I was just done, and Arben's mom was like, Jessie, you're not giving up. Like, and then she told me like some of the stuff that they had seen, and she was like, and look where we are now. You just have to just keep going. It's gonna work out, right? But the thing is, sometimes you really do not have the stamina to keep going because you're like, what the fuck am I gonna do from here, right? And I get really pissed off when I see people going, you just have to get out of bed and do it. I'm like, bitch, try to, come on over here. You know, let me take all
Let's
this.
switch this for a day.
Show me you getting out of bed right now, right? Like, and at that point, it was like my business was gone. It was just like, when you're like, go, 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 like all your trauma, all your shit, all your problems, you're pushing them to the side because you're like tunnel vision and you're going in your business.
Focus on the task at hand.
Yeah, right? Like it was my business. My business was my life. And like my business unfortunately took priority, and I should not have done that because there was times it took over my family life. It took over all of that. And that's why I also say as a woman, it's so much different because a man can go on a work trip 6 months after having a baby and it's okay. As a woman, every fucking person you know will call you and be like, you just had a baby 6 months ago. But you just had a baby 6 months ago. Why are you away at work? Like, no one ever called my husband and said, you just had a baby, why are you at work? But you better believe I got phone calls. Every event, you know, if they did see us on a weekday or somebody came over to, oh, you're at work, but you have a baby. Well, who's watching the baby? And I'd be like, the dad, the other part of the equation. I didn't pop him out by myself. Didn't pop her out by myself.
If you want to help, you're free. Feel free, Ado.
Samlo? Yeah, I remember I went to the Cayman Islands. It was, I had Akash in April, went to the Cayman Islands in October. One of the biggest fucking opportunities I had. You guys won't know who she is, but she's like a really big florist and she needed assistance and she asked me to go assist her at an event, right? I was not gonna turn that down. And away I went. And the people that make you feel like shit are usually the people that are the closest to you.
Their words have a lot of weight.
And they're the ones that feel like it's okay to say it to you because they're just doing it for your own good. They're not trying to be mean. It's like...
And it's usually the people who never took risks in their own life or were in that business world. Like, we see it all the time with people that we hang out with. If you're working a job where you're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, whatever the case is, you don't have that same stress that someone who doesn't know where they're going to make their next bill payment. We got our visas due, we got our line of credit due, we got our mortgage payment due. That's all got to come from somewhere.
Screw all that, man. You have staff to pay.
Exactly.
More importantly.
They're not going to sit around and say, oh, Jessie doesn't have money today. It's okay, pay us next month. They're going to say, fork over the money. Otherwise, we're going to make your life miserable. Like, there's no other way around it. But when you see those people, you start to tune them out. If you're, obviously when your mental health is as yours was, it's not as easy, but when it's on a daily basis and you start realizing that that's what it is, it's their own insecurities, they're looking for validation, you just start going, you know what, thank you for your advice, but I'm good. I'm going to do what I want to do.
It's that stoicism, right? It's one of the best pieces of advice I ever got is never take advice from someone whose life you would not want.
Yes.
Right? And the other part of that equation is...
And someone who's never been in the shoes that you're
there
in
you
right
go.
now.
Exactly. Because it honestly doesn't really lead anywhere. It makes you question yourself, and then it takes away from the task getting done. You know what I mean?
Like if someone came up to us and was like, oh, why are you opening up a supplement store? It's going to be hard work, this or that.
You guys were already doing
It's
this.
like,
Weren't you already good at this?
Have you opened up a supplement store that you're giving me this advice? Yeah. Oh, business is hard. I know.
What business?
That's a whole point.
What business do you? What business do you run?
Yeah. And I'm getting into this because I know those risks.
Yeah. We want to challenge ourselves. We want to do something. We want to do something.
And you believe in yourself too, right?
Yeah.
But did you guys notice that? Friendships, relationships start changing.
Oh fuck yeah!
100%.
Hell yeah!
Even your closest people, like some family members and stuff like that, too.
Like especially the first
Like,
year.
are you sure you're making money? I'm like, that's not what we're in for.
Why aren't you doing this? You should do this. You should, you know what I mean? I get it. That coming from a good place, so we hope. But it's just like, yo, I don't really need to hear that right now. Like, just support me.
Like,
just,
don't you, I understand what the fuck's
yeah, like,
happening.
I'm living it.
I'm living in it, yeah.
You're making money today, but
Yeah.
the goal is to eventually
Yeah.
make money.
I know I'm not doing anything anymore. I'm not going
Yeah.
out, but
It's-
like I know I have a goal.
It's us waking up in the morning and thinking about it first thing. It's us not being able to sleep at night because we're thinking about it. It's us before we go to bed with our hands in our face, just thinking like, what am I doing? Am I gonna get through this? You know what I mean? It's us that go through it. It's not you. Like,
It's a 24-hour job.
It is.
And if someone says otherwise, they're bullshitting you. When you open a business, you're not going to be able to sleep some nights.
Being an entrepreneur is not for the weak of heart.
No.
And I feel like, the people watching right now are either in business or thinking about going into business, right? Like, you really want to weigh things out. You really want to make sure, like, if you're going to start something and you're quitting your job, make sure you have a minimum of 6 months of expenses saved up, right? Like, you have to have these things or a support network because it's not going to be easy. And if it is easy, I would be caught like just something's missing somewhere. If you think it's easy the first 6 months, you've missed a step.
of course, that's it. And it depends what you want to do
Yeah,
too.
you can't even go on your own payroll for the first 6 months. You're working for free.
Let alone a year.
10, 12 hours a day. And then after that, okay, you don't want to hire staff. You start paying yourself. You can make ends meet. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure what's up here is good. All those systems are firing on all cylinders. So you can, when times get tough, rely on what you already know, rely on your own mental peace to get through that time.
Yeah. I remember Jeevan was 8 months old. It was, 13 months old. She just turned a year old. I would leave on a Friday and I wouldn't come home till Sunday. Because I would go Friday morning and I would go set up a job and then I would go to the warehouse, prep for Saturday, load that into the truck, go Friday night, would be taking down that job, unload that truck, load up Saturday's truck, take a nap at the warehouse. I had built a shower and a bed at my warehouse because it took less time to do that than to drive home and drive back. And I remember I walked home on a Sunday night one day and my kid looked at me and started crying. She had no fucking clue who I was. And I remember sitting in that washroom, I didn't say anything, but a huge smile on my face. I went into the washroom and I just cried because I was like, what the fuck am I doing this for? Like, why am I doing this? Like, is it really worth it? So if you're thinking about going into business, especially, I see girls going, okay, and that was me. I was like, I'm going to go into business for myself because I want to have kids and I'm going to be with my moms and with my kid. I'm going to be a mom and I'm going to run a business. That's going to be the best. It fucking does not work that way. It doesn't. Even with the most, like, you can have all the support in the world, but when you are the face of your business, everybody wants to see you. They want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to second in command. They don't want to talk about, like, with Jeevan. Sorry, guys, you can hear all about my labor. So Jeevan ended up being born 6 weeks before she was supposed to be born. She was premature. So basically 7 weeks, at 33 weeks, I went in for a random checkup and they're like, you're out of amniotic fluid. We don't know if your baby's going to make it. You need to get to the hospital. Drove to the hospital. And they were like, okay, we're pumping you with steroids to hopefully develop her lungs. Okay, the grief counselor came in, the pastor at the hospital came in and talked me through it and be like, there is a possibility you're going to be delivering a stillborn. Okay, totally prepped me. I had taken my mom with me, so I'm like acting all strong, right? Like, I got this, Mom, it's okay. Called my husband, I was like, I need you to come to the hospital, we're having a baby. He's like, no shit, Sherlock. Like, I'm like, no, like, we're having a baby, like, maybe today. Like, We're having a baby. This was a Monday. And they pumped me with the first dose of steroids. They're like, we're going to monitor you. Let's see what happens. So on the Tuesday, they pumped me with the second dose of steroids. And I had done hypnobirthing classes where it was just, like, you do these hypnosis scripts to just talk to the baby. I'm like totally into the manifestation and like all that stuff, right? So I'm doing my scripting. We get to day 2. We got to Tuesday. I was like, okay, thank you, God, right? We got to Wednesday. Friday, 8 a.m., they come to me and they're like, things aren't looking good. We're gonna take you in for a C-section. We don't know what's happening, okay? This whole time I'm freaking the fuck out because my team's over at Fraserview setting up for an engagement.
And that's what you're thinking about.
And that's what I'm fucking thinking about. Okay? They're like, I'm like, okay. I'm like, can you give me just give me an hour. Like, let me get into my mindset, right? Called my mom, Fraser V. Joe. Like, this is everything that needs to be done, right? Called the girl's mom who had hired me for her daughter's event. I was like, Auntie, this is who's there. I'm gonna be unavailable for the next 3 hours, but don't worry, the job's getting done. Did not tell her I'm fucking at the hospital in labor, okay? I was like, okay. I shut everyone out of the room. I put my meditation on, and I was like, let's do this. An hour later, the doctor comes back. They're like, okay, we're gonna take you in for surgery. I'm like, no, I'm ready to have the baby. He's like, there's no way. I'm like, I'm ready to have the baby. I popped the baby out in 26 minutes.
Without a C-section. Premature. Wow.
What?
Because I was like, I didn't get my ass focused.
You're a legend. You're a legend for that.
I was like, I need to be focused. I'm like, everybody just leave me the fuck alone, right? Got rid of my phone, had her, called the lady. I was like, okay, she called me, Jessie, honey. I was like, it's okay, got it. Called my mom, I'm like, they're saying this is wrong, fix this.
This is right after.
Had the baby, I'm on my phone. Like, I got a job that needs to be done. That they've paid me, okay? Oh, it gets better. This is the Friday, okay? The Tuesday is Canada Day. I have a job at Swanee Set. I just had a premature baby. I'm bleeding to the point where I can't fucking walk from here to there without them having to mop after me. I'm like, I gotta go. They're like, you can't go. I'm like, no, the baby can't go, but I can go. Discharged myself on the Monday. Cried like the banshee, okay? I told you guys you're gonna get TMI, okay? You've dealt with your sister having a kid, so you've seen it a little bit, okay? So then I'm like, I take my pump with me because I've got a kid and I need to be able to feed this kid, okay? Swanee Set is an hour and a half away from BC Children's Hospital.
Yeah, at
Okay.
least, yeah.
Our shit, everything was just because I wasn't supposed to have her yet, right? Like, I was not prepared. So everything's falling apart. I could not pump, okay? So now I'm feeling this immense amount of guilt because I've let my baby down because I ran out of amniotic fluid from being too stressed and not taking care of myself properly during the pregnancy and not drinking enough water. Now I cannot even produce milk to feed her, right? But I didn't even try, really. The one time I tried while I was there, the event needed to start on time. I didn't have an option. Like, I needed to get that done. Like, that needed to happen. And I remember I left there, went straight to the hospital, and I just sat in the NICU and I just cried. And there was a nurse there that just held me. I don't even know how long she held me. And she was like, you're doing the best you can. And I will never forget that, because growing up, like, you're just always trying to do, like, I'm the oldest daughter of an immigrant family, like, everything was on my shoulders, like, it was go do this. And in that moment, I felt like such a failure, because the one job as a woman I'm supposed to be able to do, I could not do it. And the whole reason I started a business was so I could do that job.
With less stress.
Yeah, right? But it's just like, but no one talks about that. And I'm so glad that the girls now are so much more aware, and they're more like, this is my boundaries. I don't work this day. Like, good for you. Your business probably isn't going to grow as much as you want it to because you don't want to work, but good for you for knowing your boundaries. But I didn't know my boundaries. And before the keyboard warriors come at me saying I was stupid, fuck, I know I was stupid. Like,
But that goes back into what you were saying.
sorry. But the number of people that say that to me, it's just like
It's like when you do something dumb, someone says, why'd you do it? You know that was a dumb idea, right? It's like, I fucking know. I'm the one who did it.
But it's like, I think everyone's sitting at this table, it's like, we get it. Yeah. I completely get it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's that trade-off, and it sounds fucked even for people that don't get it. Like, they're the ones that are gonna say it. Yeah. And like, we all know that obviously, you know, we wish that didn't go down that way. You know what I mean? We wanted it to be a safe delivery and all that, but it's those trade-offs, man. It is. It's whether you know you're not.
Never gonna be perfect.
Whether life's never gonna be
Have some sort
perfect.
of adversity.
Yeah, especially when you're on the up and up, like the yin and the yang. You know what I mean? Like there's with the bad, there's good, and with the good, there's the bad. I mean, that's usually the way it works. Like anytime I know when we go through something bad, like I'm able to, right away my brain will go to, okay, but something good's gonna happen after this. And maybe it won't for the next month, 6 months or whatever it is, but it'll eventually come. But you just gotta hold on to that because there's no other way to survive it.
If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will.
But you guys are really blessed to have each other.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Very, very blessed.
Much fun with friends.
But you have someone, right? Aw, this little moment.
That goes hand into hand with what you were saying earlier. You have your systems in place, your processes in place, so you don't have as much of this veering off the path and then having to figure stuff out. And also you feel like you let down your daughter, but now you look at it, she's older and she's going to see those examples you said of, you know what, I can do anything I put my mind to because look at what my mom got through.
Yeah.
She had a premature kid. She still worked her ass off, still got to where she was, dealt with her mental health. And everyone who's watching this is going to see that too and say, you know what? Hearing that story makes me realize, yeah, I will have to make trade-offs, but if I have my processes in place, systems in place, I could still do that, maybe not to the same degree, maybe to a greater degree, but you can do it.
Yeah.
And you set that example not only for your daughter, but other women, other girls who are looking into getting into business and growing their life, but with proper processes in place. And that's like why we started the podcast, is to help people with areas we failed in or we lacked in. And we're starting to realize that now that we're getting older, 30-year-olds.
Don't gotta keep saying it.
And then we got the two young bucks over here.
You're like what, 22? 24.
But it's
just a
just
baby.
passing that knowledge on to that next age so they can not make the same mistakes you made. So you should be proud of yourself.
You're a strong ass
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah. And Jesse, and I gotta say too, and Jesse, when you were having Jeevan, what year in business was that? Year 12,
That was
10,
in 2009. That was business year 6.
That was business year 6.
Early.
Okay, I got you.
That's
So
early
it's
still.
early. That's still early into the game. Not even year 10 yet.
2013 is when I was the overnight success.
I got you. Quote unquote. Yeah. It all happened in one day, right? Yeah. We'll hold on to that for.
Yeah.
We'll bring that back. We'll circle. We'll circle back. But even then, like, I'm gonna go on a whim here and say it took year 6, Jesse, to build that mindset in order to get through that. So building that mindset and having like that mental strength to go through it. Like Jess said, you're a strong ass woman, but like I said, with it comes like, because you built yourself through that, obviously through your business and going through all the bullshit. So you had that mindset, knowing about manifestation, knowing how to meditate, but also it does come with the dark side of it too, right? Letting yourself get to that point. Because I will say, when I've said this to Arvind too, and I don't even think I need to apologize because you're going to tell me not to, because I was just like, fuck. Like, I was like, when I first met her, I was like, fuck, she's a little bit mean, man. But I will say,
I'm the biggest
no,
bitch. I am when you first meet me.
but there's a but to that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but fuck, she's dialed in. Like, it's kind of like being a professional athlete. When you're a business owner, you're an athlete. Like, I take a lot away from boys when we grew up playing hockey, kind of when you track and field, right? Like, when you're in business, like, you got to have that mindset. You got to be dialed in. Like, for me, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm very passionate when I'm playing hockey. These guys know what I'm yelling. I'm
Yeah.
fucking screaming.
Never stops yelling.
Yeah, I'm always talking, you know what I mean? But the same thing in business. I'm very passionate. I'm very dialed in. So are my partners. But like, that's how you got to kind of think of it too. It's about being a professional athlete. Same thing. It's like, it's game 7. You know, I know childbirth and a sports-related injury don't even compare, but just for the sake of a comparison.
Maybe they do.
Yeah, maybe they
I
do.
haven't had a sports injury. You haven't delivered a child.
Yeah,
so
I'm not gonna. Yeah, exactly. But it takes that. You know what I
If you
mean?
ever do deliver a child, you guys can
Yeah, it takes that. You may
exchange
have
then
proper.
I'll go get an
yeah.
injury playing a sport.
Exactly. But it takes that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you're hurt or whatever, but having that mentality just to dial back in and just getting the job done, no matter what. And I feel like through business, like, people who weren't maybe even athletes, like, they develop that tool. Like, that's why you sit down with the very high achievers, like, whether they're athletes or they come from the wedding industry or finance or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, their knowledge might be in their industries, but their mindsets are all very the same. Like, we've sat down with some pretty cool people, famous mixed martial arts announcers, from famous punk rock artists to wedding planners, other business owners, you know what I mean, in a lot of different fields. And I will say, like, what I say to these guys, it's like, fuck, I'm like, they did that around that year. I'm like, yo, we're doing that too. We do that too. So it's very refreshing to know that like you're on the right track, because we're ultimately learning from you guys. You have a lot more experience in business than we do. You know what I mean? You put the time in. So I think that's really neat. Like there's so many similarities. Like if we had everyone that we've ever had on this table, I bet everyone could be like, oh yeah, I remember going through something like that, and like pointing it out and just having a great talk about it. But nah, man, that's crazy. That's really cool, especially if having a lady on too. You know what I mean? Like that has this mindset. Yeah.
But yeah, after that, I built systems and processes. I never had a job that was not properly written down with all the details, with what needed to be
after
happened.
that?
After that, yeah.
So you were pretty much winging it before. You knew everything in your
I
brain.
was winging it, man. I was like, I got this under control.
You had an idea in your head and you're like,
Yeah.
ho juga.
Yeah.
It's like the desi uncles at
Yeah.
parties. You're like,
got
yeah,
this.
you're running out of booze, and the uncle's like, going now,
Yeah.
ho juga.
That is legit. I was just, yeah. Going na, bas karta.
But going back to your mental health, you said you were like pretty much bedridden at one point, right?
Yeah.
How'd you like get past that? What made you like flip the switch?
A lot of therapy.
A lot of therapy?
Therapy, I feel personally, was my biggest gift, my best decision, and the worst decision I ever made in my life.
It's so scary.
Because yes, it helped me like come out, but who I am as a person has changed. I overthink everything now. I put myself in other people's shoes and I'm like, I wonder what happened that they're reacting this way today. Like I'm just always like just trying to like not react, and I'm like, fuck you, man. Nobody worries about what I'm doing, right? But therapy is just so, and even just going into it, like being that vulnerable and owning up to it. But therapy made me realize I'm not perfect. But just don't tell my kids that, because I tell my kids I'm perfect all the time. But I remember, like, even between my husband and I, I was always like, he did this and then he did that. And then I remember my therapist goes to me, well, what did you do about it? Or what'd you do? And I was like, oh, what are you talking about? Like, I'm perfect. Right? And just owning up, and then, but your perspective on life changes. But I feel like in business, you always have to change. However you've lived your whole life, like you have to flip that switch once you start a business, right? It's not about, oh, this is broken. It's about, okay, how do I fix this? Oh, we don't have the money for this. Okay, how am I going to make X amount of money in the next few days? Like, it's just, you always have to flip that switch. But therapy sometimes has made me kind of hesitate before flipping that switch, because I want to make sure I'm making the right decision. Like, I'm probably too aware now, but like, I'm also here today. Well, of all the people, I'm here today because of my family doctor. Because if he did not say, this is not working anymore, like, I wouldn't be here. But I also grew up with depression. Like, trigger warning, my first suicide attempt was at 17, right? So it's like I grew up with depression. So it's not something that I just had, right? So from there to postpartum depression, and then to just strictly like my life halted. I felt like I had no meaning in life, because nobody was calling me about their wedding. Nobody was calling me about their event. Nobody needed me for anything. Like, it was just empty silence.
You weren't able to separate yourself from your business.
I was my business. Yeah. My identity became like a decorator. That was my identity. But I'm so much more than that. And I had to relearn that. I had to relearn the different hats I wear and who I am. And that had a big part of changing my company in 2021 to Jessie Khaira Inc. Because I am me. I am not anybody else. I am an individual, and I'm an individual who happens to do these different things.
I think even
That mindset is crazy.
It
though.
is. Like, I feel like you gotta. I feel like at some
so
point,
refreshing to
it
hear
is.
that. Yeah.
But don't you feel like, Arvin, like you gotta, kind of have to be really that obsessed. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you gotta like draw your boundaries, things like for your own mental health. Like, you gotta make sure you're taking care and after you too. But I almost feel like, and this is where I'm at in my headspace. It's like you kind of have to be obsessed. Like, it has to be your obsession if you wanted to grow, if you want to make it like I'm fucking obsessed. Like, I know it's all I think about. It's all I do. Right, and the same with my partners, right?
Omega-3s.
Yeah. Just had a little talk about Arvin with his health today too, because he told us something and called him an idiot. Like, we have a supplement store.
shop.
Yeah, fucking take your supplements. Come on, man. But I almost feel like you have that obsession if you want it to grow. You know what I mean? Otherwise, then it's just just a 9 to 5, and I don't mean that no knock on anybody, but as in just it becomes you're an employee of your business as opposed to being a business owner, right?
I wouldn't have done half of what I did if I wasn't obsessed.
Yeah, you become enslaved by your business at a certain point. And that's where you have to draw the line of, okay, I'll be obsessed with it, but I won't be a slave to my business. Yeah. And that's, I think, where there's such a fine line where it's like within an inch of each other, you step this way and you're enslaved, but if you stay on that fine line, you can focus on being obsessed with it and still carry out the same work that you would do without having to sacrifice in terms of your family life, in terms of your overall mental health.
But you guys may not agree with me, but I think the first 3 to 5 years of your business, you have to be obsessed to the point of
We agree with you.
Yeah.
We 100% agree
Without
with
a
you.
doubt.
You do not.
You can't take your foot off the pedal.
No.
Yeah.
Because if you take your foot off that pedal, you're gonna that zero to get back there is gonna take so much
Momentum
longer.
is a
And just
hard
getting
thing
back
to
in that
fucking
mindset, even that mindset, it's so hard to re-engage yourself once you've, you know what, it's in the back rear view mirror.
Yeah.
It's so hard getting it back to in front of you rather than behind you at that point.
And then I think for myself personally, I was just trying to prove a point. Like, I was just trying to prove that, you know, I didn't have a 9 to 5. Like, I'm the first entrepreneur in my whole family, and then even in my in-laws family. Like, I was the first one, and then I started this at 23, right? And I'm a girl. Like, it's just, I had a lot of people telling me I could not do it, I would not be do it, right? So it's just, I felt like I had this point to prove to so many people, myself included. And even like, out of all the other big decor companies, they were all husband and wife teams.
Interesting.
And then there was me, right? So I was also trying to keep up with a team of 2. So I had to do by myself what people were doing in teams of 2.
Question: is what you do for fun? Is that what you do? Is that what you do for work? Like, is that your business? Yeah. Okay, I got you. I could get that.
Yeah.
Honestly, same.
Yeah.
I hate when people are like, oh, but you know, you should do this. Like, yeah, we play hockey. Well, I haven't been playing hockey, but that's okay. I'm not gonna lie. If I got this injury and I did not have my business, I would be so fucked.
Yeah.
You would drive yourself crazy.
I'd drive myself nuts. Like, I'm pretty sure the day I got hurt, I remember I told you, I was like, oh, that's one less distraction. I guess I can just focus on this. Yeah. When I said that.
You had that positive mindset.
Right after the next day. Like, I felt bad for myself in the hospital because honestly it just fucking hurt a lot. But that's how I think of it even now. I'm like, whatever, like, hockey will come back. You know what I mean? Like, you just really got to focus on this right now, right? But one thing that just takes me off sometimes is like people are like, oh, you should still have this outlet, you should do this, go to yoga, do this. But it's just, you know, you got to find another passion besides your work. But it's like, that is my passion. Like, what I do for fun and what I do for work is the same thing.
My hobby or passion, then like.
How's that any different if we were professional hockey players, we played in the NHL? How's that any different?
Yeah.
Like, please tell me. Like, yeah, we still have you can have different outlets, you know, hanging out, shooting the shit, like whatever.
Walking the dog.
Yeah, I'm allergic to dogs, but yeah.
I'm not allowed to get a dog. Because my
Yeah.
husband,
You gotta
I
follow
had
your
2
passion,
kids
man.
and gave them to my husband to raise, so he said, I'm not allowed to get a dog.
I'm not raising anything else.
Jesse, what year in your business are you now? What year is this?
21.
Oh, wow. Damn, you're OG.
Old. I started a business and he was just learning how to walk. He was taking his first steps. As he took his first steps, I was like, let's see how I can put up these chair covers.
Jesse, biggest difference between year 1, Jesse, in business, year 21. Hit it.
More confident, more authoritative. I am more secure in my craft. I think I really doubted myself when I first started. And I no longer fly by the seat of my pants. It's like everything is a thought out process. Everything is, okay, these are the steps that need to go to make this happen. I have goals. I never used to have goals. And those goals aren't just like flimsy goals. They're goals that, are broken down into quarters and then broken down into months and then weeks and days. And it's just, there are steps, right? And I wish someone had told me year 3, 4, 5, hey, do this. I wish, and I'm so glad that that's out there now. And it's like there's so many resources out there now to get support. Like even someone listening to this podcast, right? If they're not paying for something, they're just listening and they're listening to the mistakes we've made. That's hopefully going to prevent them from making that mistake.
Free coaching.
Right? So I feel like those are the biggest differences. And I also balanced. I have a lot more balance. Like if I were to start a different business today, how I would show up and how I would start it, it would be so different than the person I was 20 years ago.
So what's next for Jessie Khaira Inc.?
So I am of the belief that don't say anything until it's out there, because I used to, no, it's not top secret. It's just when you start doing things, people love to hate.
Yeah.
And you don't want to put negative energy on
Yeah.
something that hasn't even come into fruition.
Yeah, right. So I'm still doing the research. I've been doing the research on it moving forward. But right now, I think what I'm really excited for is like all the digital stuff that I worked on in my business, like used in my business. I'm going to put it up for sale on my website as an additional source of income. And then with the Empowered Success Club finally coming into fruition is like
That's
just
coming out
focus-
June, you said?
June 1st is when.
Well, I'm looking forward to checking that out, actually.
Thank you.
That'd be really sweet.
Just a quick question, bringing it back to when you started your business. I actually just started a business myself. And for all the people who are starting a business themselves, the systems in place is super important. How do you figure out the right people to put around you in that business, though? Rather if it's employees, the proper vendors, does it go back to you can kind of feel through intuition really quickly, or?
I think our gut and our intuition, yes, is huge. Never make a decision based on money, ever, especially in your first little bit of business. If somebody is cheaper, if someone is like, don't. You want to see where, like if it's for a team member, you want to know, like I would never hire someone that does not have at least a little bit of passion for what I'm doing, right? Because skill can be taught. Passion and integrity are two things I cannot teach them. I can teach them how to go tell somebody where to sit, right? Like I can teach them where signs go. I cannot teach them. So, when they're showing up, like how are they showing up for the interview? Are they late? Are they on time? How did they communicate? Did they follow up? Like all these things make a difference, right? When it comes to vendors, how easy was it for you to get through to them? How many times did you have to call them before you got a response, right? It's like hire slow, fire fast. Like I would never, like now, like I did not know that back then, but now, fuck trying to be the good guy or just being like, you know what, I don't know if I'll be able to find somebody. Fire them, put in a few extra hours and go try to find somebody else, because you're going to invest so many resources into this person that if they actually wanted that job and wanted to be there, you wouldn't need to invest to them because they would be doing it themselves, how they showed up. So yeah, it's really gut, right? Like when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
That's a very good point. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I like that one.
Thank you.
That's similar with like a lot of relationships. People might drag them out, rather if it's personal, professional, might drag them out for a little bit, but exactly, like people will show you who they are.
Yeah. And I think running a business is just like being in a relationship, personally. Like, believe people when they show you who they are, right? Like, if he's a raging alcoholic, then you probably don't want to be with him, right? If he says he's going to show up and he doesn't, don't want to be with them. So why is it if someone says they're going to show up for work and they don't show up, you're like, oh, let me give them another chance. unless you're giving the guy another chance, then you have issues I cannot get into.
And that doesn't mean someone has an extenuating circumstance that they can't deal with. And
Yes.
obviously, you gotta play it by ear, situation to situation. But for the most part, what Jesse's saying, 100% the truth. You'll know what someone's like within the first 2 times you meet that person, and believe them. Because it's like that slogan we had at Surrey Minor Hockey. Remember at North
Far
Surrey?
better to build a boy than to mend a man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to Surrey Minor Hockey.
SMH. Okay, Jesse. It's one thing we always do at the end of every episode, and it's just a message to any aspiring entrepreneur, someone that's an entrepreneur, maybe in a bad spot, good spot, whatever it may be. What would be your message to them?
Someone trying to become another wedding planner.
Yeah, could be anything.
Trust your gut. Believe in yourself. Don't let anyone tell you can't do anything. Okay, I'm gonna quote Diljit, because
He's the man. Look at him.
Diljit was told that Singhs don't know anything about fashion.
I saw this.
Diljit was told Sardars can't be in Bollywood movies. Okay? Fuck what I say, fuck what they say. Just like look around you and you will see the ones that have made it, the ones that have done something, have believed in themselves first and foremost.
That's sweet. And Jesse, if our viewers want to find you, what's the best place to find you?
I'm hiding on all social media right now, but by the time this airs, I might be back up.
Because I remember you changed your company name, so I went on Instagram because Connor's asking me what your company name is. Search your name. I was like, did Jessie unfollow me? And then I went to something you were tagged in, and it was like, okay, her profile's just not there.
I shut it all down. I was just like, I'm taking a break from social media.
If it is up.
But it'll be back up. It'll be back up next week, I think. It has to be because I'm doing a sale in May for my birthday month, so gotta bring in the money. So that's where you can find me. You can find me on Instagram at Jessie Khaira or at www.jessiekhaira.com. And I have a bunch of digital products that do help if you're starting a new business. And then the Empowered Success Club starts in June, and that is literally like dedicated time every week to work on your business. Like there's bookkeeping time, there's just time to like, and I believe in the Pomodoro method. So it's just Pomodoro sessions where we're working together and you set a task that you're gonna get done and then you actually get it done, and not prioritize things that are not a priority. Because I feel like as business owners, a lot of times you're just doing things to be busy and you're not actually doing anything that's helping you propel forward.
Honestly, boys, I think we're gonna have to get Jessie back on when
This is dope.
launched. Yeah, this is dope. This is actually one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
To be completely honest with you.
Yeah, we
They
could
say
tell.
that to
We
all
could
their
tell
guest
Carno.
story.
Carno was sitting upright, yelling at people. That's the most engaged Karn's been for an episode in a while.
It's because I attacked him as soon as I got here.
Yeah, exactly.
I triggered him the moment
She
I
triggered
walked
me,
in.
and I was like, "Hey, it's game time. It's game." Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna show her who I am. No, I'm just kidding. But no, guys, for everyone listening, if you got something out of this, share this with someone. Throw some good karma out for someone. There might be someone struggling or someone that's just getting going. I'm sure you can learn something from Jessie, because hell, I know we did. So please, guys, like, subscribe, share. Go like Jessie's stuff. Go follow her. Go check out her stuff, because I'm sure she's gonna be up to some amazing things.
And Panda, if you have nothing nice to say, just shut the fuck up.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you.
The message for today's podcast. Fuck it. Connor's like, I'm gonna have so much editing to do.
Like, come on, man. I'm Panda.
Awesome, guys. Yes, please like, subscribe, share. Can't say that enough. And until next time, be good.